This show is brought to you by Directory.com, the safest way to hire a contractor.
And we are back. Our next story today is a pool scammer from Minnesota, Charles Workman. I don't know, pool scammers, it's kind of different category because pools is a luxury item. It's not something that you need, it's what you want. And people who get pool usually have a little bit more money, and it's completely different transaction, if you will. Not saying that theft is not theft here, but it's just a little bit, it feels a little bit different reading all of these stories. So Charles Ray Workman, former Minnesota contractor, is facing serious legal trouble in both federal and state courts. Federally, he's charged with fraud for allegedly stealing over $300,000 in COVID relief loans. At the state level, the Minnesota General won a major lawsuit against him after he scammed at least 17 families by taking huge deposits for in-ground pools and then abandoning jobs. Charged with 5 counts of wire fraud, accused of stealing over $300,000 in COVID relief funds. That's a federal case. By the way, I think it's prosecuted by CIA. Like that's
Really?
yeah, for anything with the COVID relief, because it's government funds. It's kind of like securities. I think that's who is governing it. Facing potential prison time if convicted. Case is still active. No plea or sentencing yet. State civil case, he's sued by Minnesota Attorney General for consumer fraud, took over $1 million from 17 families, so very large tickets here. Found guilty by default judgment in 2023, ordered to pay $1.1 million in restitution plus attorney's fees, permanently banned from working in construction or pool installation in Minnesota. What's your thoughts here, guys?
Well, where he really screwed up is, a lot of these, when it comes to consumers, it's more difficult to get law enforcement involved, even at the state level, let alone the federal level. If it doesn't exceed a certain dollar amount, it becomes a civil issue. And where this guy screwed up is he did it via wire fraud. And so as soon as he asked these people to submit payments of any dollar amount via wire, he committed a federal offense, and that's when it gets the FBI involved. But this guy clearly was a clown, using the money to go to casinos to pay his child support. I mean, again, like we talked about in the last segment, these guys are pretty smart in the way that and I don't mean that in a positive way, but in order to bilk that much money out of people, you got to have some intelligence. And if you just take that effort, he'd probably be killing it in the workspace. But yeah, I have zero. I don't feel bad at all for these guys that end up getting a bunch of jail time, because no one talks about the impact of the families that maybe they took out that money from in this article I was reading. One of the families pulled out of their savings, their life savings, to
They want to have a
have
pool.
something, yeah, in their house that they hadn't had before.
One advice I always give homeowners that actually gonna like to avoid nightmare experience. If you feel that person is something is off, like just go with your gut. If you would only Google the name of the owner, like the owner's name, just go to Google the company and read company reviews. Usually when a person who owns the company have judgments, in this case, I mean, he had judgments in 2023 against him. They have usually a lot of court records. Like if you Google business owner's name and nothing comes up, it's a good sign, right? But if you start having, issues like with different arrests, gambling problems, fines, closing their licenses or companies, like maybe he was involved in 3 different businesses before, ask yourself why this guy is so jumpy from one thing to another. What's happening? What led to it? A lot of these guys don't even own their business. They would close the business to bankruptcy or some kind of money issues, and they would re-register a new company under wives' names. You know, if your contractor does not have a license, or his wife is a license holder, it's a huge red flag in construction business. Do you guys see a lot of those guys in your areas, Texas and Tennessee?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Brent, what do you
I see
see?
I see companies, with the same owners, with different business names all the time. But I want to say something about this guy, and this is just true with any long-term construction project in general. Um, I was watching some videos, some YouTube stuff about him last night, and he would start projects to a degree. So I saw one homeowner, they just had a huge hole in their backyard. I saw another one where they had the hole and it looks like he placed the forms. They look like their vinyl liner pools is what he was doing. And, pools are kind of like roofs. Most people, I mean, have never been through the experience of getting a pool, just like roofs. But he's kind of preying on the ignorance of people, and I don't mean ignorant like
Yeah.
you're ignorant, but like they've never done this before. So I'm sure he was able to be like, oh, this is the process. We got to dig the pool, then I got to put the forms in, and he's just dragging these people along. All the while, looks like he went out and bought a horse as well. So,
And I think a lot of homeowners feel like they are on the hook, even they feel like something is off and we should not be giving money to this contractor. They feel like they're liable. It's, if they don't bail him out on, with the next payment, it's going to get worse. A couple of weeks ago, I covered Souther's Construction $200,000 judgment. So the homeowner actually called us, and he has a $200,000 judgment against Lee Haight and Southern Construction. And the guy was telling me the same thing. They would stop the work, they would disappear, and he would call them. They would keep changing crews, keep making promises, but they also keep asking for more payments. And he already knew, it's a red flag after red flag. But what are you going to do? If you paid your contractor 100K and the work is stopped, they can walk away and you will feel that guilt, like, well, they asked me for a payment, I did not give them a payment, and now they walk away from the job and they never gonna finish, or I'll give them another $50,000. So it's kind of, you're hostage to this open project. So if your contractor promised you a pool, he dig the hole and he asked for another 20 grand, nobody likes conflict. So,
Well, it may not only be guilt, it may just be that they feel like this process is so far along that if I walk away now, I'm going to lose my butt. So it's similar to how, when I train my sales guys when they are talking to a prospect and the prospect keeps ghosting them. And the common thread I like to say is they don't want to date. They don't want to date, so let it go. If a homeowner's in a position where they know deep down, there's an old adage that says the gut has more nerve endings than the brain does. So go with your gut. Um, having that understanding of this is probably going a route that I don't want it to go. Stop the bleeding, and start looking elsewhere because it's likely. And that's the reason why it's important. We talk about this on the show a lot about getting online and checking out Google reviews and checking out their reviews elsewhere. We talked a moment ago about looking their name up, but, looking the company up, seeing if they have a record of happy customers or just constant complaints about maybe similar things that you might end up dealing with. And that allows you to make an informed decision.
this
and I
one
would like
is, I agree with you 100%. Go ahead, Brent.
Oh, I would also like to add one way with larger construction projects, because I come from the space. When you have, a long project like a pool, try to break it out into a schedule of values. Basically, your payments, break it out into multiple payments, meaning, don't do a third, a third, a third type of thing. Have it to where when the hole is dug, you get X amount. Have multiple stages, really as many as you possibly can kind of come up with without going too crazy. So that way you're never really upside down in the project too far if it ends up being a scammer.
Well,
100%.
there's a reason why banks, when you know, I build homes as well, and when we're building a home, the bank won't allow money to be released for a certain
Hmm.
thing until they can send somebody out to verify that that thing happened. So
Exactly.
that is good. That's wise counsel there from Brent is to basically put yourself in a position so if the guy stops showing up after the hole's dug, all you've paid him for is the hole being dug, and you can call another pole company to come out and
Hmm.
finish the job. And you're not going to be upside down as much as you would if you gave him 50% down for him to dig a hole in your backyard and ruin your yard.
Yep.
This one is also feels very different. Like I've covered so many fraudsters and Ponzi schemes, usually contractors get in trouble towards the end. So they'll run solid business 2, 3, 4 years, and then they'll owe millions of dollars, and they start robbing Peter to pay Paul. With Phil's here, he did not try to finish any projects. It just, the average ticket was so big. I mean, think about it. 2023, $1.1 million in restitution plus attorney fees. So with that, from 17 projects. So that tells me it's not like he finished 10 projects and didn't finish 7. It's like all 17 were have this model. I'll take the big down payment. I'll do something until I can do it. He did not try to finish any of the 17 jobs totaling $1.1 million. It's a business model of its own, where it's not like I'm going to finish that job with your money. It's like, no, I'm going to keep going, selling until they caught me. It's just asking for trouble, he was destined to finish. And also, it's not only homeowners. What a lot of people don't understand, and I also want to address it with the contractors listening. Yes, in this country, you have amazing laws for bankruptcies. And, it's legal, right? But we have this notion that, I'll file a bankruptcy, and it's not people's money, it's banks, it's whatever. I have a contractor I covered on the show, $3.4 million in bankruptcy, and he was feeling good. And he actually reopened the same company with the same name 2 years later, and he said it was banks. Well, banks' money and suppliers' money are still people's money. Someone earned it, someone gave it to you. And in this case, also, we have sued for unpaid invoices, we have suppliers and stuff like that. Very sad, very sad. I hope he'll get very, very long period in jail. When we come back after the break, we'll talk about Mark Diamond and his reverse mortgage scam. Stay tuned.
Directory.com, the safest way to find a roofing contractor. The Directory app is free to use, and all contractors and their jobs come with a $20,000 guarantee. Directory is a concierge service. They find and recommend contractors to use for home improvement and back them up with a $20,000 guarantee. In case a contractor takes your money and runs away, Directory will give you your money back or will finish the project if the contractor disappears and ghosts the project. Directory doesn't give bad recommendations, but in case of a dispute, you are covered with a $20,000 guarantee. Download the app now and hire your next contractor with peace of mind.